Hello, Mackenzie. Thank you for coming in to see me today.
Hi.
I will be conducting your clinical intake interview.
Okay.
Um, I know this process might be a little bit stressful, so thank you for coming in here and bearing with me about all of this. I do have to let you know up front that everything that we talk about here is confidential. The only way I would have to exchange information with anyone is if you let me know you have plans to hurt someone else or to harm yourself.
Okay.
Right? It says here that your full name is Mackenzie Davis.
Yes.
Is that correct? You are age 20.
Mhm.
All right. Female.
Mhm.
Caucasian, non-Hispanic.
Yes.
All right. So, and also throughout this process, I will be writing a couple notes.
Okay.
Don't be intimidated by that.
Alright.
So, what is your marital status?
I'm single. Yeah, I'm not married. I do have a boyfriend though.
Okay. Let's see, single. You have a boyfriend.
Yes.
What is your living situation?
I currently live with a roommate. But previously I lived with my boyfriend for a year.
Okay. You said previously you lived with your boyfriend.
Mhm.
Why did that living situation change?
We just thought it would be better, since we're still kind of young, just to kind of live apart and live with friends as opposed to each other. Just as kind of more of like a way to relax instead of beat down each other's throat all the time.
Okay. Definitely. Let's see. All right. I'm going to ask you a few questions about your prior employment history.
Okay.
What's the longest you've ever held a job?
2 years.
And what was that job?
That was when I was in high school. I worked at Dunkin' Donuts.
Did you enjoy that work?
I did. The coffee was great.
I like that coffee myself. How would you say you typically respond to supervisors or like the work environment as a whole?
I respond well, I guess. It's not that I have a problem with supervisors, but I like to be in control a lot. I did briefly have a shift leader position in that job, and so I liked doing that a lot better.
Okay. And is that's your most recent job?
No, so that was in high school. I'm currently nannying for a family and their 4-year-old daughter.
All right.
But I've only had that job for about half a year.
Okay. So for the past 6 months,
Mhm.
roughly, you've been nannying
Mhm.
for them. And how do you manage that job? How do you feel doing that job?
I love it. I love kids, so it's perfect for me.
Have you ever been fired from a job?
No.
Are you in control? Are you handling your personal finances?
Yes, I am. I moved from home in Connecticut to North Carolina, so I'm pretty far away from my family, so I handle everything myself.
Okay. Do you have any problems doing that, or do you handle that well?
I handle it well.
Nothing ever gives you, stress. You ever get anxious
It's
about?
stressful when I have to ask my family for money if I had a rough month or whatever for rent or bills. So I don't really like doing that, and that part's kind of stressful. But overall, it's not much of a problem.
Why is it stressful to ask for money?
I have 3 siblings, and my mom doesn't work, so my dad kind of supports all of us. And I don't like to be an extra burden on him, knowing that he still has to take care of the family back home.
All right. Military history. Have you ever served in the armed forces?
No, I have not.
Just getting back to the family.
Mhm.
You said you have 3 siblings?
Yeah, I have one older sister and 2 younger sisters.
How's your relationship with those siblings?
They're pretty good. I'm not really close to my older sister, since she, graduated and moved out before the rest of us. But I'm really close with the 2 younger ones. So overall, they're really good relationships.
You mentioned your father.
Mhm.
Is he the one that raised you?
Yes. Well, my parents are still together, so they raised me together.
All right. The next part I'll be asking you about is the medical history.
Okay.
Are you aware of any complications during your birth?
No.
Did you crawl, walk, and talk when you were supposed to?
Mhm.
Have you ever suffered from a head injury or loss of consciousness?
I had a few concussions in high school from sports, but that's it.
Did they ever cause problems in the way of academics or like social?
No, not immediately. I was out of school for a couple of days, but that's it.
Are you currently being treated for any physical injuries?
No.
So you're not taking any medications?
No.
Have you suffered from seizures?
No.
What about blackouts?
No.
Now we're moving on to the mental health history portion of
Okay.
the interview. Do you have a family history of mental illness?
Not directly, although we do have some suspicion that my mom may have borderline personality disorder. Because she also has an alcohol problem, so we think something's going on there, but it's never been diagnosed.
So besides the alcohol problem, what makes you sure that your mother has personality disorder?
She has a lot of outbursts and has kind of a control problem, but in a way where it's like she feels like she should come first and everything should be done her way, and lacks really the ability to see things from other people's perspectives, and tries to twist situations around to work to her advantage.
Okay, so if I heard you correctly,
Mhm.
she often has outbursts. She likes to be in control of the situation. She wants things to be done according to like her vision. And if things aren't that way, how does she handle that?
All hell breaks loose. It's nuts. It's a lot of yelling and being angry and a lot of really immature things, like not speaking to us.
You say when she's angry, she doesn't speak to you. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel kind of left out and I guess kind of unloved. Even though I know she loves me.
Okay. How would you describe your mood, generally?
My mood generally, I guess, is pretty good, but I guess on edge. I guess I'm rarely ever really calm or relaxed. I'm kind of always like on the go in my head.
Do you think you could possibly give me an example of what you mean when you say you're always on the go?
Like I'm always just thinking of 1,000 things. It's hard for me to really focus on something. Like if I start thinking about my boyfriend, and I'll start thinking about a fight we had, and then I'll start thinking about, oh, how horrible it was, and now is he going to break up with me? And it just keeps snowballing and snowballing while I'm supposed to be like writing something in class. And it's like that not just with my boyfriend, but with pretty much any thought I have. And then it'll jump from my boyfriend to like homework and how if I do poorly on my homework, it's gonna make me fail the class, and it just keeps going and going.
Now, when you say this happens always, do you
Mhm.
literally mean like while you're awake that these thoughts are all, like literally all the time running through your head? And
Pretty much, I'd say like 75-80% of the time. I do enjoy the small percent whenever I am able to just kind of zone out and not be thinking about all of it. So,
have you ever had suicidal ideations, like thinking about suicide? Any?
no.
So I'm gonna guess that you haven't made any gestures towards suicide either.
No.
How do you have any anxiety, stress, or worry?
Oh, definitely. What I was just saying about my thoughts just kind of stresses me out all the time. And I know like the worries I get are super irrational. Like my boyfriend breaking up with me, we don't have any problems. So that doesn't even make sense, but it's still something I worry about. In classes, I worry about them a lot, and that's still kind of irrational because it's not like I'm actually failing my classes. And just even small things like being super worried if I don't know where I am because my GPS is recalculating. All of that, all the time.
So you're saying you have moments. It sounds to me like you have moments of clarity where you understand that these things aren't something to worry about, but there are these long periods of time where they're just uncontrollable and irrational, just like bursts of thought.
Well, it's uncontrollable, irrational bursts of thought that I know even when I'm thinking it that it's irrational, but I can't stop myself from my mind going there.
Do you have any irritability? Would you say you're ever irritable?
I am when I'm, kind of thinking all those things. I wouldn't say irritable in a way that I get angry, but more in a way that I'll get upset easily.
When you say upset, what do you mean by that?
Just really fragile feelings. If my boyfriend were to say something wrong, that in a normal state of mind I wouldn't think anything of, but I would look into it too much and then be upset by it for whatever reason.
How is your sleep? Have you experienced any sleep problems?
It's really hard for me to fall asleep. I just kind of lay in bed thinking all the things. And then I'm tired, I feel like all the time, but it's still so hard for me to actually fall asleep.
Have you suffered from delusions?
No.
Hallucinations? Do you have any other mood things that you would like to talk about?
Not that I can think of.
You feel that you've covered everything pretty well?
Yeah.
Have you had a previous diagnosis of any sort?
No.
Previous psychological testing?
Mm-hmm.
Any treatment for mental health, either inpatient or outpatient?
Nope.
So, is it safe to say you've had no medications past or present?
Oh, yeah. No, that would be okay to say.
All right, I'm going to ask you about your daily activities now.
Okay.
How do you typically spend a day?
I'll get up and go to class, go to the gym, come home, do some homework, go nanny, come back home, maybe watch a movie or something, relax and unwind, and either go hang out with my boyfriend or not, and go to sleep and repeat.
would you say this is a pretty routine thing, like a pretty routine day for you?
Yeah.
Do you like ever switch up the schedule drastically, or is it the same?
It's pretty same.
What kind of things do you do for fun? I see you mentioned relaxing and hanging out with your boyfriend.
Yeah, and it's just maybe like watch TV with my roommate or watch movies. Maybe I hang out with my boyfriend and his roommates and watch movies. Yeah.
All right. Have you noticed any deterioration in your personal care?
No,
So hygiene, everything is still.
pristine.
Have you had a recent marked constriction of interest in activities? Are you not receiving joy from any of the things you find fun?
Well, it's not that I don't find them fun, but sometimes I get so caught up in my head that it makes it not as fun.
How has your ability to interact with others been? Has it been impaired any?
I think it's okay. I'm not really the best with like meeting new people and really making conversation with them, but I don't think my interactions and communications really deteriorated much.
And have you always been a little skittish about meeting new people?
Kind of.
Have you been experiencing an impaired ability to understand, remember, or carry out instructions?
It's kind of hard to remember stuff since I'm just kind of always going out or I'm super tired. And just kind of staying alert and remembering to remember is kind of hard.
How would you? All right. I'm going to ask you about your. This part may be a little bit sensitive, and remember, nothing leaves this room unless you tell me something about like harming others or harming yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But what is your abuse history like? Have you ever been physically abused?
I wouldn't say so unless, I mean, like, there's been some times where my mom has, like, slapped me across the face, but never, like, I feel like I've never been, like, beaten.
So the times where your mother has, as you said, slapped you across the face, you wouldn't consider that abuse? What would you consider, like punishment, perhaps, or just like?
I don't know. I feel like in her eyes it's punishment, but in my eyes it's really unfair and undeserving punishment or inappropriate. But I don't know. I've never really been taught really like the line of what's abuse versus acceptable punishment from a parent.
Have you ever been sexually abused?
No.
Have you been emotionally abused?
I think I would say yes from my mom. Going again there's that line where it's not super clear, but just kind of being told like I'm not pretty enough or I'd be like better if I did this and that I'm a horrible person and things like that.
Alright, when this is going on, how does it make you feel?
Kind of worthless. Really like there's nothing I can do to change her opinion because it happens often.
How often would you say?
A couple of times a month. More than a couple. Maybe like a handful.
Alright. We're moving on to the portion of substance use history.
Mhm.
Do you use alcohol?
Yeah.
When would you say that started?
Probably when I was 17.
When have you last used alcohol?
Last week.
How often do you use alcohol?
Probably twice a week. Usually on the weekends. Maybe a one night during the week.
The amount?
It depends on the situation. Probably 3 to 5 drinks per occasion.
When you drink, do you drink to how much would you say you drink? Like how would you say that affects you? Are you drinking so much that you're throwing up?
Oh no,
Or
not usually. Yeah, no, more just. I mean, I get considerably drunk, but not. I wouldn't say it's like out of control.
so is it fair to say you do it for the feeling?
Yeah, kind of. Feeling social, like going out to parties with my friends.
What's the longest amount of time you've gone without drinking?
A few months.
Was there any reason for that?
It was over the summer. I don't remember exactly the string of events, but I just had a lot of stuff to do, like summer camps and things like that.
Do you use cigarettes?
No.
Marijuana?
Yes.
When did that start?
When I was 18.
When's the last time you used marijuana?
Yesterday.
How frequently do you?
A good few times a week.
How do you use the marijuana? Do you smoke it? Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to clear that up. The amount, like how much do you consume when you?
Not a lot, enough to relax me. I usually smoke before bed and kind of relax, and that kind of helps me with the whole not being able to fall asleep. And it doesn't work as well as I wish it did.
Okay. But would you say you do feel some positive effects from smoking?
Mm-hmm.
What's the longest you've gone without using marijuana?
A few weeks.
Have you used cocaine?
Yes.
When did that start?
When I was 20 this past year.
Last use?
Like last month.
How frequently?
Not very frequent, maybe once or twice a month.
The amount per occasion?
Not a lot. Maybe like a 1 or 2.
And what's the longest you've gone without using?
A few months, I guess. It's not a very regular thing in my life.
Have you used opiates?
No.
Hallucinogens? Amphetamines? Sedative or hypnotics?
My friend gave me a sedative one time, and I used them a little while after that as well, because it kind of put me in a relaxed mood again, where I wasn't super thinking about what was going on.
How frequent would you say you use this?
Well, I don't really use it anymore.
Was this just a couple of times? Okay.
It was a couple of times, but I kind of realized that probably wasn't a good thing to be doing.
What about using it made you realize it wasn't?
It wasn't really about using it, it was more thinking in real world time, like, taking these prescription pills that aren't mine. I could go to jail and become addicted also. So.
Okay. Do you have any substance-related problems like legal issues, family concerns, maybe acting out?
No, I know my parents disagree with the drinking and the smoking, and when it comes up, there's a lot of tension, but other than that, no.
Okay. So you've never had treatment for substance abuse. All right. Legal history. Do you have any pending charges?
No.
Past criminal record?
I got a parking ticket. That's it.
All right. Coming up on the end here.
Okay.
This part is social history. Tell me about your social life. What is that like?
What do you mean? Like, I mean, I guess like I have a lot of friends, if that's the direction you're gonna take it.
All right. Let's be a little more specific.
Okay.
Your boyfriend. What's your relationship with your boyfriend like?
It's pretty good most of the time. We're really close, especially since I actually moved to North Carolina to get in-state tuition for college, and this is where he's from, so it was a big step. So I think we have a good relationship, but there's some trust problems occasionally with me finding it hard to trust him with like other girls and things like that.
Do you mind expanding a little on the trust problems? Are there things he does that makes you, like, specifically?
Well, he's kept things from me before that came out later. And so that's kind of one of those triggers for me just starting to worry. And I feel like a lot of the time when I worry, it's irrational, but I feel like that's a rational thing. Because, if he's keeping that from me, what else is he keeping from me, and how is it going to affect me? What could happen?
Tell me about the relationship you have with your friends.
It was pretty good. I went a little while not having very many friends down here when I moved. But now, my roommate, she's fantastic, and we hang out a lot, and then have a little friend group, and we try to have a girls' night like every other week. And I would say it's really good. And then I still talk to my younger sisters. I would consider them friends. I text them every day.
We've talked about how you handle the relationship with your mother when you have an argument or a disagreement. How do you handle an argument with your significant other, your boyfriend?
I'm not sure I really handle it. I know I don't really make it better. It usually ends up with me being really upset and frustrated because he doesn't understand my point of view and how I feel about things. And then it ends up with either me or him just being like, okay, whatever, like I'm tired of talking about it.
So would you mind giving me a summary of how you feel when your thoughts are racing? Would you feel overwhelmed by it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Super overwhelmed. Like kind of out of control of like myself, if that makes sense. Super tense. Excuse me. And I feel like you said it best, overwhelmed.
How would you say that looks physically? Is it noticeable to someone who's watching you when you're...
My friends can definitely notice because I just kind of get in this place and I'll just kind of zone out and not pay attention and kind of stare off into space. And it's kind of obvious. I'm just kind of freaking out internally.
Is there anything that you would like to add before we conclude the interview?
I don't think so. I think that was everything.
All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by to
Thank you.
talk to me. I know it takes a lot of courage.